Imagine yourself standing on a wooden dock at twilight. Overhead, the sky is shifting from a soft gold to deeper shades of purple, and a faint glimmer of the first evening stars appears. The air is mild, carrying the gentle scent of salt and seaweed. Beneath your feet, the dock's timbers creak occasionally, while small waves lap rhythmically against the pylons below. Each whispering splash forms a lullaby that soothes your thoughts into stillness. In front of you stretches the vast ocean, its surface rippling with the last hints of daylight. The horizon holds onto a fragile band of color, and distant boats slide quietly toward shore, their silhouettes dark against the sky. A hush seems to descend as if the world is pausing for an exhalation. You might notice a fish jump or a gull swoop low, taking advantage of the final light to seek food. In this place, balanced between land and sea, you feel an invitation to cross into another realm. Slow your breathing. With each deep inhale, picture yourself drawing in the calm of the evening. With each exhale, release any tension or scattered thoughts. Let them float away on the breeze, preparing yourself for what lies beneath the surface. A small but sturdy vessel is moored at the end of the dock. It has a single lantern glowing, creating a welcoming circle of light against the growing dusk. You step aboard carefully, feeling the deck sway beneath you. The gentle motion of the boat is comforting, reminiscent of a rocking cradle. Any sense of urgency or hurry you carried before dissolves into the quiet acceptance of this moment. A soft-spoken captain starts the engine, its hum low and steady. The boat leaves the dock, and the wind on your face grows slightly cooler as you move out into open water. The sky above darkens into richer purples, while the first stars gain confidence. The hush of the ocean embraces you, the slapping of gentle waves against the hull merging with the distant calls of birds and the whispered rustle of water. You find a place to sit or lean, letting the breeze brush against your skin. There is no schedule now, no clock in sight, only the rhythm of the sea and the waning light. Whenever a stray worry attempts to surface, you note it without judgment, then let the murmur of waves draw your focus back to the present. Soon, the boat slows and the engine is cut, leaving only the soft drift of a vessel at rest. You look up to see more stars emerging overhead, their reflections dancing on the water. Perhaps you catch a faint glow from another distant lantern, but mostly it is you, the boat, and the hush of night settling over the ocean. If you peer over the side, you might notice silver flashes of fish under the surface or tiny sparks of bioluminescent plankton swirling in the boat's wake. You soak in the atmosphere of quiet wonder, allowing your breath to synchronize with the calm around you. Someone, maybe a guide or the calm presence of your own intention, hands you a simple mask and snorkel, or a gentle diving apparatus. You slip into the water, feeling its mild temperature cradling your body. There might be a slight gasp as you adjust to this new sensation, but soon it's as though you are held in a soft, buoyant embrace. You float on the surface, your slow breaths flowing through the snorkel or device, each exhale releasing a stream of bubbles that rise and vanish. The lantern's glow touches the surface, but below it begins to recede into a serene darkness. Gradually, you let yourself descend. Your ears fill with the muffled hush of underwater silence, and your eyes adjust to the subdued light. First, you see small shapes, drifting seaweed, maybe a tiny school of glittering fish. Then you notice outlines of coral formations rising from the seabed. Even in faint illumination, they reveal ridges and contours that speak of endless marine life. Small reef fish dart in and out, untroubled by your presence. A shape glides past the edge of your vision, a slender shark moving along the coral's perimeter. Its form is unmistakable, streamlined body, gently swaying tail, eyes that watch the reef with calm awareness. This is likely a reef shark, one of the more common species inhabiting these underwater structures. You feel a moment's twinge of old stereotypes about sharks, but the hush of the water, and the shark's quiet poise, dissolves that fear. You see how it moves with an easy grace, scanning for small fish or crustaceans hidden among the coral. The other reef fish remain alert yet composed, continuing their business without panic. The hush envelopes you all, weaving sharks and fish and you into a single tapestry of stillness. You inhale, exhaling bubbles that drift upward in gentle columns. Your arms and legs hang loose, your mind starting to empty of surface concerns. You drift closer, or perhaps simply hover, letting the subtle currents guide you. More reef sharks appear, solitary or in twos, patrolling the coral fringe. Their presence feels surprisingly reassuring, as though they are guardians of this reef, maintaining a balance in the ecosystem. The hush in your mind grows deeper, each breath slower than the last. These sharks are not mindless threats. They are serene and watchful apex creatures fulfilling their role with measured confidence. You move along the reef's contours, discovering a sandy patch near the base of a coral ledge. Something half buried in the sand catches your eye, maybe a nurse shark or a wobbegong resting in quiet stillness. Its broad head and elongated body lie motionless, occasionally shifting to pass water over its gills. You sense no aggression here, only the calm of a creature at ease in its habitat. Approaching gently, you notice its patterned skin, designed for camouflage, and observe the way it breathes with slow deliberation. It seems to embody patience, and that patience seeps into you. Any stress you may have brought vanishes in the face of this living example of calm. While you linger, you see the nocturnal reef begin to show itself. Lobsters scuttle across the sand, antennas waving. Small eels peek from rocky hollows, and corals open their feathery arms to catch drifting plankton. Now and then, sparks of light flicker when bioluminescent organisms collide in the mild current. You notice more sharks weaving in and out of your periphery, their silhouettes outlined by the scattered glow of your lantern or the moon's reflection. Slowly but surely, your perspective on sharks transforms into one of quiet respect. They exist among countless other species, in an intricate web of life that depends on each link, from the smallest crustacean to the top predator. Time feels different here. You can't recall if minutes or hours have passed. Your body seems weightless, every muscle relaxing into the hush of the water. Your heart beats slowly, aligned with the unhurried motions of the reef. Even your thoughts move in a gentle current. If any memory or plan or worry emerges, you watch it pass and then fade, overshadowed by the grace of sharks sliding by, or the ripple of a ray stirring sand at the bottom. The hush absorbs all distractions, pulling your attention back to the mesmerizing dance unfolding in slow motion around you. Your breathing becomes a soothing rhythm. You inhale, drawing calm into your lungs. You exhale, releasing bubbles that vanish overhead. Perhaps you adjust your position slightly, drifting near a shark that circles a coral outcrop. You might meet its gaze for a moment, noticing curiosity rather than menace. Then it glides away, tail sweeping in a languid arc. With each observation, your mind embraces more understanding. These sharks are not here to harm aimlessly. Their role is to keep the reef healthy by culling weaker fish, maintaining population balances. They are caretakers, not villains. In a softly lit corner of your vision, you spot another shark partially hidden behind a coral mound, maybe a different species, blacktip or silky, patrolling the deeper side. It moves with calm assurance, scanning the water for prey. There is no chaos, no abrupt lunging, just a measured vigil. The hush of the reef cradles you, reminding you that fear often comes from misunderstanding. Here, in direct contact, the truth is simpler and far more peaceful. You sense a pull to explore deeper, to move toward a gradual drop-off where larger fish might roam. As you follow the descending slope, the reef transitions into more open water. Darkness intensifies and your eyes adapt again. Suddenly you glimpse a broader silhouette, a gray reef shark or something similar, patrolling the outer fringe. You hover, letting the scene wash over you, feeling a tingle of awe rather than dread. Even this bigger shark moves with the same smooth composure. No wild thrashing or ominous rush. Each flick of its tail is deliberate, each pass near the reef an act of silent guardianship. You pause, nearly motionless, letting yourself sink into the deeper hush. Tiny particles drift by in the faint beams of light, revealing an undercurrent you hadn't noticed. Maybe you watch a school of silver fish swirl overhead, shimmering like living confetti. If a shark glides through their midst, they part gracefully and reassemble, no panic, just a fluid response. The hush extends beyond hearing, becoming a pervasive calm that cradles every interaction. In this moment, every cell in your body seems to let go. There is no tension in your neck or shoulders, no tightness in your brow. Your arms float with minimal movement, your legs providing a gentle kick only when needed. The reef breathes around you, sharks, fish, corals, rays, in an unending display of balance. You mirror this balanced state in your own being, releasing mental clutter, grounding yourself in now. At times, a flicker of old fear may surface, especially if you catch a glimpse of shark teeth or recall a dramatic headline. Yet the hush counters it. You sense how these teeth are tools for selective feeding, not instruments of random violence. The hush fosters empathy for these creatures, who have roamed the oceans for millions of years, shaping marine ecosystems with unwavering stability. This is their realm, and you are a respectful guest. The hush transforms fear into reverence. You imagine drifting toward a shallow cove that serves as a nursery for juvenile sharks. The water is calmer here, seagrass swaying gently in the current. Smaller sharks, perhaps just a foot or two in length, explore the lagoon in short bursts of energy. They look almost playful, investigating nooks in the grass, chasing tiny fish or crustaceans. Watching them, you can't help but smile. These future apex predators begin life in vulnerable wonder. In their cautious movements, you see pure curiosity. This place, protected from stronger currents, nurtures them until they can handle the open seas. There is no threat here, only an echo of the hush that supports all growth. After some time in these shallower waters, you feel drawn back to the main reef. The gentle tide or an internal prompting guides you to ascend a slope of coral. Passing by formations and through fish gatherings, you see that some sharks have shifted positions, while others remain on their rounds. The hush has never broken. Even as you return to the boat, you remain enveloped in the knowledge that sharks are not monsters. They are majestic stewards of the sea. Eventually, you realize it's time to surface. With unhurried strokes, you rise through the water column. The darkness around you thins, replaced by the surface glow, starlight or moonlight shimmering across gentle waves. Breaking through, you take a slow breath of air, feeling the boat's presence nearby. A steady hand or your own calm determination helps you climb aboard. Now, gravity reclaims your body and you sense the weight of your limbs more keenly. Yet your mind remains light, buoyed by the hush you carry from below. Perhaps you rest on a seat or cushion, removing your gear. The night air caresses your damp skin. Above, stars twinkle, or maybe the sky begins to show early signs of dawn. The hush endures, settling into your bones. You think of the sharks beneath you, continuing their peaceful patrol, weaving through corals, guiding the reef's equilibrium. Instead of fear, you feel gratitude. Instead of tension, you feel release. The hush has changed your perspective forever. The boat heads back or remains softly anchored. You lie down, letting the boat's gentle sway cradle you. Eyes closed, you replay images of gliding sharks and luminous corals. The hush accompanies each breath, inviting you to slip into a deep, restful sleep. Gravity feels less insistent, your mind drifting between wakefulness and slumber. If there's any faint noise of an engine or the soft murmur of distant voices, it only accentuates the hush, reminding you of the calm that thrives in your core. Imagine continuing this feeling when you eventually return to shore or to your own bed. If you lie down, mind still immersed in watery serenity, your body can't help but relax. Every tense spot dissolves, every troublesome thought recedes. You might briefly reflect on how these sharks, apex predators, embody a gentle confidence that resonates through the entire reef. By allowing yourself to witness their world, you've absorbed a portion of that confidence and calm. With each long, slow inhale, you draw in the memory of weightlessness in the ocean, sharks cruising unhurriedly by your side. With each exhale, you release any last flickers of unease or overthinking. You settle into a state of near dream, welcoming true rest. When you finally fade into sleep, it is with the knowledge that the hush waits within you, an echo of ancient oceans and peaceful encounters. There is no better lullaby than the hush that belongs to you now, gently carrying you into a deeper world of restorative sleep. Let a small smile form on your lips as you slip from the edge of awareness. If you dream, perhaps you will glide again among the corals, sharks keeping watch in the shadows, guiding the ecosystem with silent grace. If you have concerns in your waking world, they can be softened here by the hush. The ocean's calm is timeless, and in acknowledging that calm, you've brought a piece of it into your own life. In this moment, ease and warmth radiate through your body, and you feel the soothing promise of complete rest. Drift quietly, letting each breath sink you further into that gentle oblivion where mind and body truly heal. Like a shark gliding through dark waters, you move with purpose and without fear. All is well. All is hush. Sleep now, content in the understanding you've gained, and let morning come at its own pace, bringing you forward in renewed peace. When morning breaks, you awaken slowly, still feeling the gentle rocking of waves beneath you. The air is warmer now, touched by the first rays of daylight that slip across the horizon. If you are on a small boat, perhaps you stretch and rise to see the sun beginning its ascent, the sky shifting from lavender to soft peach and then to a tender gold. If instead you found rest on land, in a simple hut or on a beach not far from where you encountered the water, you might open your eyes to the same gentle light filtering through a window or tent flap. In either case, the hush you carried from your time beneath the waves still resonates within you, like a soft echo of the ocean's midnight lullaby. You breathe in the morning air, noticing how your body feels lighter, unburdened by tension, as though the salt water that caressed your skin and the sharks that shared their serene presence have granted you an enduring gift of calm. You take a moment to remember how you slipped into sleep, the memory of sharks gliding near the reef, drifting like silent guardians through that endless hush. You recall their shapes fading into shadows as your eyelids closed, and a deep rest overtook you. Now, in the new day's brightness, you sense a lingering warmth in your chest, a sense that these creatures have welcomed you into their world on a level deeper than words. It feels natural to want to revisit them, to learn more about their fluid grace and vital roles in the ocean's balance. There is no rush, however. You allow your eyes to half close once again, letting the morning rays gently warm your face and chest, your mind replaying fragments of that nocturnal reef, small fish darting away from a passing dorsal fin, corals swaying in dim light, the slow rise and fall of your own breath echoing the push and pull of the tide. Gradually you rouse yourself to a comfortable sitting position, perhaps sipping on fresh water or tea. If you are still at sea on that small boat, you notice the captain or guide preparing for another outing, or simply offering a quiet smile to see you awake. If you are on shore, the sound of seagulls or the rustle of palm fronds might form the morning symphony. Either way, you feel curiosity stirring. Your mind is drawn back to the mysteries beneath the water's surface. The hush you found among the sharks is not easily forgotten. It calls to you, reminding you that there is so much more to discover, particularly about these apex predators that hold the marine realm in equilibrium. You take your time finishing your simple breakfast or morning routine, moving slowly in reverence for the calm that still pools inside your chest. Later, as the sun climbs higher, you prepare to enter the water again. If you're on the boat, the vessel sets off with a lazy hum of the engine, aiming for a different region of the reef or perhaps a more open stretch of ocean beyond. If you're traveling from shore, you walk along the beach, feeling warm sand underfoot, and wait out until the water reaches your waist before you begin swimming or using a small vessel to reach deeper sights. The hush that once belonged to the night now becomes a sunlit hush, bright but no less calming. The sky is vast, the ocean even more so, and that sense of awe at the world's expanse merges perfectly with the tranquility you carry. When you slip beneath the water this time, the sunlight penetrates more clearly, revealing the true colors of the reef. Corals are not merely shadowy structures but vibrant spires of pink, purple, yellow, and green. Small reef fish shimmer like living jewels, darting and schooling with mesmerizing precision. Every inch of the coral surface teems with life, tiny polyps extending, neon-colored gobies pecking at algae, anemones swaying while clownfish weave among their tentacles. And amid all this, you look for the distinctive shapes that took your breath away last night, the sharks that glide without hurry or alarm. Now, in the daytime, you can see them more vividly, their graceful curves outlined by shifting beams of sun, their fins slicing the water in smooth arcs. Some smaller reef sharks pass close to the coral edges, scanning for a stray fish or investigating a crevice. Others appear further out in water where the reef drops away, patrolling a boundary that leads to deeper currents. The hush is different under the daylight. It is filled with radiant color and life, but remains just as profound. Your breathing slows to match the gentle pace of the sea, inhaling, exhaling, bubbles streaming upward toward the sunlit surface. You drift slowly, letting your body remain almost weightless in the mild currents. Schools of fish part around you, forming glittering corridors that then close behind. You notice a trio of sharks, perhaps gray reef sharks, looping in a wide circle near a sandy patch. They move with calm vigilance, dipping down occasionally to inspect the seafloor. A surge of gratitude fills you. How fascinating that these so-called fearsome predators are so measured, so purposeful. They display neither panic nor aggression, just unwavering focus. One turns your way as though acknowledging your presence, its dark eyes revealing a quiet intelligence. You meet its gaze for a heartbeat, then it continues on, unthreatened, leaving you with a feeling akin to being greeted by a quiet companion. It's as if the hush is a language you share, transcending the boundaries of human and shark. Farther along, you encounter a rocky outcrop where a nurse shark rests in the dappled sunlight, lying almost motionless. By day, nurse sharks often find a comfortable ledge or depression in the reef, content to remain still for hours. Their broad heads and calmer disposition differentiate them from the sleek shapes of gray or blacktip reefs. You hover at a respectful distance, noticing the gentle pumping of its gills, the faint flutter of its tail as it adjusts position. Smaller fish flit around it, occasionally grooming parasites from its skin. You watch, entranced by this moment of symbiosis. A hush settles deeper in your mind. There is no rush, no schedule, just the echo of your measured breaths and the flicker of light on the shark's body. You venture slightly away from the reef into a more open region where the sand gives way to gently swaying seagrass. A faint sense of possibility tugs at you. In such areas, you might spot juvenile sharks learning to navigate the complexities of finding food and avoiding bigger predators. Indeed, you see a few smaller shapes weaving near the seagrass, possibly young lemon sharks or blacktips. They appear timid in comparison to the adults, darting about with quick, uncertain motions. Watching them reveals how sharks, too, have a phase of childhood exploration, discovering their environment and honing survival instincts. The hush envelopes them, coaxing their curiosity while safeguarding them in these shallows. The longer you remain submerged, the more you fall into a gentle trance of observation. Coral outcroppings rise like submerged cities, tunnels and overhangs forming hidden passageways. Various reef sharks pass by on their cyclical routes, heads tilting slightly as they gauge movement or potential prey. Sometimes a pair of sharks aligns as they swim, almost as if they are choreographed partners in a silent ballet. You sense no hostility. Their presence is powerful yet calm, a living testament that apex status doesn't require frantic displays. You drift in their wake, a quiet observer in this watery realm. Eventually, you might notice a change in terrain. The reef slopes downward into deeper water, beyond which lies a broad expanse of open ocean. You've heard about species like the oceanic white-tip or silky sharks that prefer these pelagic zones. Hesitantly or curiously, you ease a bit farther from the reef, your heart quickening. The water becomes a darker blue, the bottom dropping from sight. You are reminded of the immensity of the ocean. A hush swells in your chest that is part wonder, part caution. In the open sea, life can appear or vanish with startling rapidity. Your breathing remains steady, each exhale releasing small bursts of bubbles. Then, through the indigo haze, you discern the silhouette of a shark built for these open waters. Perhaps it's a single oceanic white-tip cruising with wide pectoral fins, or a silky shark, longer and more slender, scanning the midwater zones. You maintain a respectful distance, letting it cross your field of view. Without the reef as a backdrop, the shark appears even more majestic, a solitary shape in a vast aquatic sky. You notice how it periodically rises and dips, scouring for signs of food. It seems adapted for efficient travel, covering large distances with minimal effort. There is something humbling about witnessing a creature so at home in open space. You feel a wave of humility, realizing how small you are in this deep, unbordered world. The hush underscores that size differences or primal reputations do not invalidate the calm you share. The shark glides closer for a moment, curious, then peels away, disappearing into the blueness. You exhale, letting go of any tension. Your pulse slows back to the reef's easy tempo. Returning to the reef's edge offers comfort, the corals and smaller sharks a friendly reminder of last night's enchantment. Perhaps you see a hammerhead, identifiable by that iconic T-shaped head. Hammerheads sometimes patrol reef edges or channels where currents carry an abundance of fish. Spotting one is a thrill. The cephalofoil head stands out dramatically, the shark moving with an almost futuristic elegance. Hammerheads often form small groups, so if you see one, another might appear some distance behind. They tilt their broad heads to scan the water, using specialized sensory organs to detect prey buried in the sand. Yet even with that distinctly different head shape, the hush remains the same. The hammerheads glide with a calm sense of purpose, and you mirror that calm, letting any residual wariness dissolve into wonder. For a moment, you drift near them, feeling the hush intensify, a shared field of respect between you and these extraordinary creatures. Time begins to lose meaning once more. You realize you've been under long enough that a gentle nudge within you suggests surfacing might be wise. Even so, you linger, lulled by the patterns of life around you. Sharks come and go, some large, some small, all vital threads in this underwater tapestry. The hush you discovered by moonlight now shimmers with golden daylight, but it remains equally potent. Every breath is a reminder that fear is optional, that calm awareness can disarm centuries of myths surrounding these misunderstood animals. When you decide to ascend, you move upward in a slow spiral, mindful of your buoyancy. The reef beneath you recedes into colorful shapes, the sharks fading into silhouettes once again. The water's surface appears as a shifting sheet of silver, and you break through to the open air. Blinking in the sunlight, you draw in a lungful of fresh oxygen that tastes of salt and freedom. If you came from a boat, you see it anchored not far away, a welcome sight. If from the shore, you might paddle leisurely back toward the beach, each stroke still guided by the hush. Your body might feel tired yet fulfilled, as though it has found a rhythm rarely accessed in daily life. Reaching the boat or land, you peel off your snorkeling or dive gear, feeling the sun warm your arms. Droplets of water sparkle as they slip from your hair and skin. You might share an unspoken nod or quiet smile with a companion, a guide, or even a stranger, some recognition that you've both shared in something profoundly peaceful. Sitting down, you let your heart rate settle, though it's already quite calm. You reflect on the variety of sharks you saw. Reef sharks near corals, nurse sharks in restful poses, open water sharks scanning the deep, even the strangely beautiful hammerheads. Each species taught you that the ocean is far more nuanced than stories of menace might imply. These creatures belong here. Their grace and confidence come from ages of adaptation. In observing them, you too feel more adaptive, more aligned with nature's quiet power. As midday or early afternoon arrives, you have time to rest or to take in the surroundings from above. If you're on a boat, maybe you lie on the deck, letting the gentle rocking lull you toward a light doze, your mind drifting between the hush of the reef and the hum of the surface. If you're on shore, you find a shady spot under a palm or in a simple shelter, letting the breeze off the water cool your skin. In either case, your eyes grow heavy and you allow them to close. The hush follows you, bridging water and air, dream and waking reality. You sense that the sharks remain below, continuing their patient circling, but their presence remains with you wherever you go. Whenever a jagged thought or piece of tension surfaces, you recall the image of a sleek fin cutting through water, calm and unhurried, and let that image dissolve your stress. Eventually, you might drift into a gentle afternoon nap, or simply sink into a meditative state. Moments later, or perhaps an hour later, you wake with a mild thirst, noticing the sun's position has shifted. The hush inside you hasn't vanished. Instead, it has settled into your bones, a tranquil baseline that shapes how you perceive your surroundings. The day is yours, unpressured, open to further exploration or simply to rest. You recall how, in that hush, time becomes fluid. You may choose to slip back into the water or go for a short stroll on the beach, enjoying the ripple of small waves at your ankles. Even if you remain completely still, the hush hums along your nerves, reminding you that calm is not contingent on motion. As afternoon deepens, you might decide to venture out again for a second underwater encounter, or perhaps wait until dusk for that magical in-between hour. If you choose to slip into the water once more, you notice how the colors of the reef soften in the angled sunlight, corals seeming to glow with an internal warmth. Schools of fish swirl in tight formations, preparing for evening patterns. The sharks appear as silent overseers of these transitions. Reef sharks sometimes become more active, stepping up their search for prey in the dimming light. Yet their movements remain smooth, devoid of panic or chaos. You float, letting your breath match their pace, each inhale a gentle acceptance, each exhale a release. If you head into a deeper channel, you might be rewarded with a sighting of a larger species, perhaps a bull shark or even a tiger shark if the conditions permit. While these sharks can grow quite large and sometimes garner ominous reputations, you discover that the hush you carry still holds firm. The presence of a bigger shark, powerful as it may be, does not break your sense of peace when approached with calm respect and awareness. You keep a prudent distance, acknowledging that these species require space and caution. Nonetheless, you observe how they navigate the water with the same measured energy, scanning for signs of potential prey or investigating the seafloor. In many ways, they reflect the entire ocean's capacity for patience and cyclical life. You feel your heart steadying, any flicker of alarm replaced by a poignant awe. This hush teaches you that the line between intimidation and admiration is thin, often determined by the lens through which we choose to see. Night might approach again, and you recall how mesmerizing the reef became under the moon's glow, or under the diffuse glow of a lantern. You might slip under the surface once more, discovering a renewed hush. At night, the water can be inky, shapes fading more abruptly into shadow. Yet your eyes adapt faster now, and you move through the dark with surprising confidence, trusting the hush that guided you before. Sharks appear as dark outlines, faintly reflective in the subdued beams of your torch or the slivers of moonlight, a testament to the ocean's enduring pulse. If you time your movements well, you might encounter a subtle nightly gathering of reef sharks near a particular coral head, feeding on small fish that emerge under cover of darkness. Observing their feeding might reinforce how vital they are in controlling populations and removing weaker individuals, leaving the reef healthier. The hush remains, never broken by sudden aggression, but rather reinforcing that all is part of a perfect, if sometimes harsh, cycle of life. You ascend once more, returning to the quiet deck or to the sandy shore. The hush lingers. You realize that it's not merely the sharks that fascinate you. Though they remain a potent symbol of grace and misunderstood beauty, it is the entire environment, the synergy of each creature's role, and your evolving relationship with that world. You have become less of an onlooker and more of a participant in the hush, as though you've been entrusted with a fragment of the ocean's timeless, unspoken wisdom. It feels like a puzzle piece clicking into place within your own spirit, a knowledge that this hush can guide your perspective in everyday challenges, reminding you that fear often arises from ignorance, and that calm presence dispels much of fear's power. Later, when you rest for the night, maybe in a hammock gently swaying in a mild breeze, or in the berth of a small vessel, you close your eyes to the hush that has grown so familiar. Your breathing slows automatically, each inhale an echo of the reef's tempo, each exhale dissolving any tension. In the darkness behind your lids, you summon the images of gliding sharks, hammerheads scanning the sandy bottom, nurse sharks dozing near coral, reef sharks tracing the lagoon's perimeter. Their silhouettes bring comfort rather than anxiety. It's as if they have become silent companions. Your muscles melt into the hammock or the soft mattress, your mind drifting toward a dream state that conjures watery corridors and silver-finned travelers. If any stray noise arises, a distant gull, the gentle lapping of waves, your hush absorbs it. You find yourself gently tipping over the edge into sleep, safe in the knowledge that the hush belongs to you now as much as it does to the ocean. Sleep arrives as a continuum of that hush, bearing you along on its silent current, carrying you through the deep hours of the night. At some point before dawn you might briefly awaken. Through half-open eyes, you see the sky faintly lit by stars, or sense a final sliver of moon. You shift your posture, inhaling the stillness. Sleep beckons again, but in that moment you realize the hush is present even in your half-waking state, a faithful companion that has not left your side. Each time you doze off, the hush threads through your dreams, and in each dream, a gentle fin or a graceful tail might remind you that sharks are not mere monsters. They are living wonders, carrying an ancient legacy that intersects with yours in the fluid realm of the sea. When dawn comes yet again, you open your eyes to a softened sky. If you step outside or up to the deck, you may see the sun peeking above the horizon, painting the clouds pink and gold. You greet this dawn differently now. The hush has integrated so profoundly that your response to the new day is one of gratitude and anticipation. You wonder whether you'll see more sharks, or if you'll simply keep them in your memory as you explore different corners of this region. Either way, they have expanded your sense of possibility. You see how gently they exist at the heart of the reef's thriving web of life. In the slower pace of the morning, you might take a stroll along the beach or simply rest your forearms on the boat's rail, gazing at the ripples. The hush weaves through your thoughts. Even if a list of daily tasks or future plans tries to form in your mind, you notice a new clarity in how you handle them. You sense that just as sharks patrol with quiet vigilance, you can handle responsibilities calmly, thoroughly, without panic. The hush is a teacher of composure, reminding you that real power often comes from measured, deliberate action rather than hurried or frantic energy. Perhaps you spend one last immersion in the water before the day's demands pull you away. You slip under the surface in the brightening light, cherishing the final glimpses of coral labyrinths. You feel the hush condense around you, embracing each swirl of fish, each flash of silver. If you are fortunate, a final shark might appear near the reef as if to say farewell, though you sense that no true farewell is needed. This hush, this gentle companionship of sharks and reefs, will remain in your heart long after you've surfaced. You note their easy arcs, their confident mastery of current and wave, and you imprint that grace onto your own understanding of how to navigate life. Eventually you ascend, letting the midday sun kiss the water around you, each droplet on your arms glimmering as you climb back onto the boat or wade to shore. You remove your gear for the last time on this journey, your mind pleasantly full of oceanic hush and shark encounters. Whether you must pack your belongings or set forth to a new destination, you do so with a measured calm you might not have possessed before. The hush sings in your pulse, in the quiet steps you take, and in the gentleness of your gaze. You reflect on everything you've witnessed. Nurse sharks napping in tranquil corners, reef sharks looping around corals like living ribbons, young sharks testing the shallows, hammerheads scanning the sandy floors, open water sharks roaming endless blue, and the cyclical patterns of dawn, day, and night that welcomed you into their domain. The hush extends beyond the memory of these creatures. It has wrapped itself around your daily perspective. You feel changed, not in a loud or dramatic way, but like the subtle shift of a tide, each ripple a testament to deeper calm. Even the name shark no longer brings flickers of fear, but an impression of streamlined poise and oceanic stewardship. You understand more than ever how vital they are to the ocean's well-being, and, by extension, the entire planet's balance. When your day inevitably pulls you away from these waters, be it to catch a flight, drive to another region, or simply resume your everyday life, you carry an inner vow to protect that hush. You might keep a small memento, a shell or a pebble from the shore, or simply the memory of smooth fins cutting through water. Whenever the noise of routine or the stress of obligations threatens to overwhelm you, you recall the image of a shark gliding with unwavering calm. You take a slow breath, exhale tension, and let the hush fill the space where worry might have grown. In that simple act, you remain connected to the wisdom of these ancient guardians. Should you find time in the future to return, either physically to these seas or mentally in your imagination, you will rediscover them easily. All it takes is a moment of stillness, a gentle closing of your eyes, to see the reef floor again, to watch a dorsal fin slicing quietly past the coral, to remember how your breath once matched the measured hush of the ocean's heart. You will slip effortlessly back into that realm, for the hush knows no boundaries and does not recognize separation by distance. The memory of the shark's silent presence is all you need to call forth that calm anytime, anywhere. And so, as afternoon slides once more toward evening, you find yourself reflecting on how these powerful animals, sharks of every shape and size, exemplify not terror but equilibrium. Each species plays a specific role in the oceanic tapestry, culling weak or diseased fish, preventing overgrazing of reefs and maintaining diversity. In their peaceful patrols, you witnessed no frenzied hunts or senseless attacks, only the deliberate movements of expert swimmers. They are content to live out their roles unheralded by the world above. Yet now you have borne witness. You have seen the hush that envelopes them and recognized that hush in your own being. As the light shifts toward evening hues, the hush grows warmer, inviting you again to rest. If you lie down for another quiet respite, you do so with the comfort that these hours in watery silence have anchored a new tranquility in your spirit. Your limbs sink into whatever bedding or seat you have, your muscles loosening as you breathe in the mild, salty air. Even if you remain awake, you can slip into a calm daydream, imagining yourself side by side with a gliding shark, both of you unhurried, each a pillar of quiet confidence in a drifting world. In time, if you choose to close your eyes and drift off, the hush guides you without fail. Should you dream, your dreams are gentle expansions of the realms you have explored, perhaps a dream of pale moonlight on a reef, or a swirling galaxy of bioluminescent plankton stirred by a passing fin. You might envision a massive, graceful whale shark, spotted like a star field, sifting plankton near the surface in a slow, majestic ballet. Or you see the broad, hammer-like head of a great hammerhead, scanning the sand with an otherworldly calm, each pivot of the head shining with subtle intelligence. The hush infuses these dreams with kindness and awe, ensuring you find no nightmares here, only soft glimmers of the ocean's secrets. Hours later, when you emerge once again from sleep, be it the next morning or just a short nap later, you linger in that half-aware state, the hush still humming in your ears. Any ambient noise, distant conversation, a gull's cry, the shuffle of feet, feels subdued as though you're still half submerged. This half-dream state is a reminder that the hush is not confined to reefs or to the presence of sharks. It dwells inside you now, woven into your breath. You wake with it, you carry it through your tasks, you return to it when you need peace. Perhaps you can't constantly remain in that underwater calm, but knowing it is yours to access changes everything. It becomes the foundation upon which your daily steps become more mindful, your words more measured, your perspective broader. At some point, you might gather your belongings and officially depart from these waters, stepping onto a plane or traveling to another coastal town. The hush attends you like an invisible friend, unbothered by the clamor of an airport or the hum of traffic. When you find yourself in a queue or facing deadlines, you recall a nurse shark lying calm on a sandy patch, or a reef shark looping near a coral outcrop. Immediately, your jaw unclenches, your brow softens, and your posture becomes more aligned with that fluid ease. You discover that sharks have taught you a new approach to life's tides. Remain watchful, move with purpose, but do not surrender your calm to external chaos. If stress flares up, say an unexpected problem arises or someone around you reacts in panic, you close your eyes for half a breath, summoning the hush. You become, in your own way, like the shark swimming through a reef bursting with frantic fish. You do not lash out. You maintain your center, responding with clarity. In that fleeting recall, you reunite with the hush, reminding yourself that your capacity for composure is as deep as the ocean, as unwavering as those apex predators that glide day and night through warm currents and starlit waters. In this way, the hush remains an endless resource, shaped by your experiences among sharks that society so often misunderstands. You have seen for yourself the quiet, dignified truth of their existence. They are not an embodiment of fear but a testament to life's resilience and poise. As guardians of the reef, they calmly hold space for countless species. By embracing their hush, you adopt a sliver of that guardianship for your own life, learning to hold space for calm within yourself and perhaps even offering a soothing presence to those around you. On some future day, you might find yourself longing again for the taste of brine on your lips, the glimmer of fish scales under a flickering torch, and the silhouette of a dorsal fin passing in the near distance. When that day arrives, be it months or years away, your heart will leap at the prospect of re-immersing in that hush. You'll recall how, on that night and that day, sharks showed you the path to quiet courage. You'll remember the nurse shark's tranquil rest, the reef shark's looping patrol, the hammerhead's uncanny gaze, the open ocean silhouette that disappeared into the blue. And you will know that once you kneel in the water or plunge beneath the surface, the hush will come alive again, just as welcoming and boundless as before. Until then, you rest your head upon a pillow, or let your back settle against whatever seat or bed cradles you now. You let your eyelids grow heavy if it is night, or simply close them for a moment of reflection if day's tasks still await. In that small darkness, you conjure the memory of drifting side by side with a shark, each of you part of a hush so absolute it defies language. Each slow breath underscores your newfound serenity. You might remain still for some time, soaking in the afterglow of the ocean's hush, or slip into a reverie that echoes those nocturnal reefs. The hush is patient. It doesn't demand immediate sleep or immediate movement. It simply exists to cradle you whenever you surrender to its gentle embrace. In this peaceful moment, you realize that in understanding sharks, you have also come to better understand yourself. Fear, so often rooted in misunderstanding, melts away when met with calm observation and empathy. The hush you carry reflects a deeper empathy for all living things, especially those that dwell in realms beyond our usual reach. By letting go of preconceived notions, you have touched the essence of these creatures' presence, and in doing so, you have touched a rare depth within your own being. You inhale that realization, exhaling a soft smile. And so you rest. Maybe you drift off for another slumber, or maybe you gently open your eyes ready to engage with whatever the day or evening holds next. Regardless, the hush is now part of your being. You are a vessel for it, quietly giving shape to a more tranquil perspective on the world. You can come back to these waters in your mind's eye at any moment. Feel the mild temperature envelop your limbs, see the coral bloom with color, and watch the sharks glide with regal grace. In doing so, you reaffirm that hush is not just an underwater phenomenon. It is also the peaceful current that flows through each of us when we remember to slow our breath and embrace the ocean of stillness waiting inside. As another dawn gently brightens the sky, you find yourself stirring from the deepest layers of rest, emerging into a world that feels simultaneously familiar and renewed by the hush that has woven itself through your every breath. You sense a tingle of anticipation in your limbs, a mild flutter in your chest, as though part of you is already drifting toward the sea's embrace again. Standing or sitting up, you notice your body still carries the residual warmth of sleep, and you allow yourself a moment to stretch in slow, deliberate motions. The hush remains a steadfast presence in your awareness, reminding you that there is no need for haste. You inhale, tasting the salt in the air, and exhale a soft smile at the thought of reuniting with the ocean's silent wonders. Perhaps you are still on the same small boat, anchored not far from the reef where you previously encountered such serenity among the sharks. The vessel rocks mildly as though welcoming you to a new day's possibilities. If you're on shore instead, sleeping in a modest bungalow or a simple tent, rays of early sunlight filter through thin curtains or tent flaps, illuminating a space that's tranquil and unrushed. You dress or gather your gear with a calm efficiency, the hush guiding your every motion. There is no sense of deadlines, only a gentle promise that the sea awaits whenever you are ready. Stepping outside, you see that the ocean surface gleams under a pale blue sky. Small waves roll toward the shore or lap at the boat's hull, each one whispering an invitation for you to join them. Birds might circle overhead, seabirds scanning for fish, or perhaps a lone heron stalking the shallows. You feel your heart expand at the day's freshness, a reflection of how the hush within you resonates with natural rhythms. If you partake in a quick meal or a few sips of fresh water, you do so quietly, savoring each taste and texture. Even these simple acts can carry a subdued grace when your mind is anchored by the hush. After these mild preparations, you make your way to the water. The day's light illuminates the shallows in gentle translucence, revealing sand patterns and scattered shells. In deeper areas, the blue becomes more pronounced, hinting at hidden caverns and possible gatherings of marine life. You wade in, or if you prefer, you slip off the boat's edge, feeling the coolness swirl around your ankles and calves until it envelopes your whole body. There is a faint thrill each time you cross from air to water, a transition from one element to another, from human domain to the hush. Your mind quiets even further, your breath finding that slow, rhythmic pattern you've come to associate with these underwater excursions. Submerging your face, You peer into a realm that glimmers with sunbeams cutting diagonally through the water. Suspended particles glow in each beam, forming a radiant corridor that fish occasionally traverse. You exhale softly, and a stream of bubbles ascends like tiny silver orbs. Drifting forward, you reacquaint yourself with the reef structures, but also remain open to something new, a deeper layer of hush, or a surprising encounter that might shape your understanding of sharks even further. As you float, you come across a gentle slope where corals create a layered tapestry, and among these corals, you spot various reef sharks meandering in their unhurried patrols. Some move in small arcs close to the corals, while others carve wider loops in the open water. You watch their postures, noticing how a mild tilt of a shark's head or a subtle flick of a tail conveys more than words ever could. There is no panic among the reef fish, just a respectful awareness that the apex dwellers are present, essential cogs in the living machine of the sea. The hush saturates each moment, so that even the whir of your thoughts feels softened. A short distance away, you observe two gray reef sharks converging near a coral outcrop. At first you might suspect an altercation, but as you watch, you realize they are merely crossing paths, each pausing for an instant in what seems like mutual acknowledgement. Their bodies nearly graze, but neither displays aggression. Then they part, each continuing its circuit. It's a silent dance of precision, revealing how even apex predators can share space with minimal conflict when resources are plentiful and behaviors remain balanced. The hush you hold inside you glows with renewed insight. This is nature in its unhurried conversation, each movement carrying layers of purpose. You angle deeper, gliding around a ridge that curves into a hidden alcove. Here, the light is more diffused, the water a dimmer hue of blue-green. A nurse shark, large and calm, rests along a sandy indentation, accompanied by a scattering of smaller fish that hover near its dorsal fin. It doesn't stir at your approach, merely opens one eye in a languid blink before returning to its easy rest. The hush envelopes you both, forging a tranquil connection without any need for words or gestures. This quiet acceptance underscores the trust that can form when aggression is absent, when curiosity and mutual respect shape the encounter. Continuing along the edge, you feel the current grows slightly stronger, hinting at an opening to deeper waters. Peering down, you see how the seabed drops away more sharply than before, forming a canyon-like structure that disappears into cool shadow. A flicker of movement within that shadow draws your attention, and you carefully descend a few more feet. The shape that emerges is a sleek silhouette drifting in a slow horizontal motion, perhaps a white-tip reef shark, easily identified by the white tip on its dorsal and tail fins. With an aura of calm authority, it navigates the canyon's crevices, scanning for crustaceans or small fish that might be hiding along the rocky walls. Its presence exudes such quiet confidence that your breath automatically mimics the hush, each inhale a gentle acceptance, each exhale letting go of any tension. Above you, the columns of sunlight waver, interrupted by passing schools of fish or by the faint shape of a larger shark gliding overhead. You tilt your chin up, noticing a robust body shape that could belong to a bull shark or a tiger shark cruising the mid-level waters. Curiosity flares, tinged with caution. These species sometimes evoke stronger reactions, carrying reputations for being bolder around humans. Yet the hush remains. You remind yourself that the ocean is not a spectacle for your fear. It is a vast environment where each creature has its role and purpose. Drifting upward in measured fin strokes, you position yourself to observe from a respectful distance. The shark's outline becomes clearer as it shifts in the sunlight, revealing patterns along its flank, possibly the faint stripes of a tiger shark if your vision is sharp enough, or the more uniform tone of a bull shark. You watch as it turns, broad snout surveying the water. There is power in every line of its body, an unmistakable physicality that says it can handle almost any challenge. Yet the hush that saturates the reef extends here too. The shark floats with a calm that hints at neither aggression nor alarm. You sense your heart flutter at the sight, but then you consciously slow your breath, letting the hush cradle you, letting your mind read the shark's posture as measured, not hostile. An unspoken respect passes between you. The shark arcs away, tail sweeping in a slow, resolute rhythm, and disappears into the mid-water gloom. In its wake, you're left with a profound sense of awe and gratitude. Not far from where you hover, a cluster of corals forms a natural arch, beneath which you might find smaller creatures sheltering. Approaching, you see reef fish congregating, their bright scales catching slender beams of sunlight that slip under the arch. And there, resting or leisurely moving in that shaded space, is a small group of juvenile blacktip sharks. Their dorsal fins bear that signature black edge, and they appear curious about the miniature labyrinth formed by coral pillars. You watch them interact, occasionally mouthing at the reef floor or making short dashes at passing fish, though rarely catching anything. It's almost as though they are practicing, learning the skills they'll refine as they grow. The hush unfolds their youthful exploration, turning each bob and weave into a playful demonstration rather than a menacing show. Time drifts in the hush as you linger enthralled. You're reminded that these baby sharks, seemingly full of energy and wonder, will someday patrol deeper waters, possibly becoming formidable adults. Yet they will do so with the same calm dignity you have observed in their elders. Each species passes on the hush to the next generation, an unbroken lineage of measured behavior that underpins the reef's equilibrium. The sense of continuity warms your heart. A single breath underscores how your presence here is fleeting, but the hush remains a constant soundtrack for these creatures' entire lives. Soon you realize that your body may need rest. Muscles begin to ache mildly from prolonged swimming, or your air supply, if diving, nears a point where ascending becomes wise. You direct yourself back toward the shallows, your eyes scanning the reef one last time for a final glimpse of that hammerhead or nurse shark or silver blue shape cruising in the distance. The hush cushions any sense of disappointment at leaving, replacing it with calm acceptance that you have witnessed enough for now. You break the surface with a gentle exhalation, blinking in the brightness of the day. If you're near the boat, it's still anchored, bobbing in the friendly waves. If near shore, you can see the sandy beach beckoning in a halo of sun. Climbing aboard or wading ashore, you note how your body adjusts to gravity again, each step heavier on deck or on the sand. Yet your mind remains buoyant, afloat on the hush. You might greet a companion with a nod or an excited whisper, but the hush you carry dilutes any rush of chatter. Perhaps you slip off your gear and find a comfortable place to rest, letting the sun dry the droplets on your arms and face. The hush glides beneath your skin, so that even the bright day doesn't scatter your thoughts. As midday arrives, you might join others for a simple meal or partake alone in a moment of solitude. Fruit, cool water, and light fare taste richer when your senses have been honed by time underwater. Each bite or sip feels like part of a sacred connection to nature's abundance. The hush shapes your posture, ensuring you eat slowly, mindful of each flavor. If casual conversation arises, you find yourself speaking more quietly, responding without haste. The hush, which once seemed to dwell only in the domain of sharks, has infiltrated your human interactions, granting them an unhurried grace. Afternoon stretches ahead. If your schedule allows, you can rest in a shady spot, perhaps in a hammock between palm trees or in a corner of the boat shielded by a canvas. You close your eyes, noticing how the hush from the water remains in your internal landscape. The hush resonates behind your eyelids, conjuring fleeting images of reefs and fins, luminous fish and swirling plankton. You drift into a light sleep or a daydream, your heartbeat a distant echo, your breath the gentlest tide. Even in this shallow rest, you feel the hush working on you, smoothing out the wrinkles of everyday stress, reminding you that calm is never farther than a single deliberate breath away. When you wake, the sun may have shifted positions, elongating shadows, hinting at another transition, one that might lead to an evening dip or a final night snorkel. You stir with the hush intact. The reality that your time in this paradise might be finite does not rob you of tranquility. Instead, it encourages you to appreciate each moment more fully. Glancing across the water, you see a subtle shift in color, the day's brightness softening into amber or pink near the horizon. A faint line of clouds might reflect those hues, or an offshore breeze might brush the surface into small ripples that scatter the sun's reflection into dancing shards. The hush remains, supporting your sense of wonder. If you decide to slip into the water again at dusk, you do so with a comfortable familiarity, like returning home to a beloved sanctuary. The reef, now touched by a lower angle of sunlight, casts shadows in new directions. Corals glow with subdued intensity, and small fish begin their evening migrations, some retreating into safe nooks, others emerging to feed. The hush you shared with them earlier unfolds again as if you never left. Sharks continue their patient circuits, some more active now in the transitional hour between day and night. You watch them navigate the subtle shift in marine behavior, a stirring of certain prey species, a shifting of vantage points along the reef. The hush envelopes each predator-prey interaction, ensuring that hunts remain purposeful, never gratuitously violent. Should you come face to face with a larger shark again, perhaps that same bull or tiger you glimpsed before, you find that your sense of reverence has deepened rather than any latent fear. The hush you carry disarms the reflex to label these creatures as threats. Instead, you observe how they too move with the day's changing light, scanning the water for cues. You sense their power in each measured sweep of the tail, acknowledging that nature's design invests them with formidable strength. Yet they are not adversaries. They are ancient ambassadors of the hush, shaped by eons of evolution to refine oceanic balance. Finally, you surface once more, the sun near the horizon. Cool air greets your cheeks, carrying a mix of sea salt and the faint aroma of the shoreline. Perhaps the boat's deck or the gentle slope of the beach invites you to rest. You let the hush guide your limbs as you climb out, your body echoing the pace of a shark's quiet approach, smooth, unhurried. Removing your gear, you settle onto a seat or patch of sand. The sky above transitions through shades of rose, peach, purple, blending seamlessly into the water's mirror. You feel a subtle glow in your chest, as if the hush has lit a small lamp inside you that no wind can extinguish. As evening settles, you join a tranquil scene of fading light. A mild warmth lingers from the day, but a refreshing breeze hints that night is near. Gulls and terns may circle overhead, seeking last scraps or heading to roost. The hush links these transitions, reminding you of how naturally life flows from one state to the next. Sometimes, dinner may be a simple meal shared with fellow travelers or quietly savored alone. The hush weaves through your appetite, letting each flavor be more pronounced, each swallow more deliberate. This mindful approach extends beyond eating. It becomes how you choose to exist, drifting away from the frantic pace that once defined your days. Eventually you seek rest, perhaps lying down under a canopy of stars. Tonight, the hush merges with memory and gratitude. Every muscle surrenders to calm, each breath an echo of your experiences. If a memory of a shark's silhouette crosses your mind, it draws you into reverie rather than alarm. You let your thoughts roam through scenes of corals, hammered outcroppings, sand patches dotted with nurse sharks, open water patrolled by graceful shapes. You marvel at how the hush can stretch from the darkest midnight realm to the bright midday reef, and follow you back to a bed or hammock. Closing your eyes, you silently thank the ocean for revealing a deeper wisdom, and you let yourself drift. Sleep arrives gently, your final conscious image perhaps a swirl of fish parted by a silent dorsal fin gliding through, each motion a testament to nature's unwavering calm. When you awaken, be it hours or a full night later, you feel the hush still pulsing in your veins. The ocean might be out of sight, but you realize now that you do not need to be submerged in salt water to summon it. You can evoke it in a single breath, a single recollection, a single mindful moment. You recall that each shark you encountered carried an air of peaceful vigilance, a capacity to remain poised yet ready. You vow to mirror that approach in your own life, staying centered yet aware, powerful yet gentle. If your journeys continue, you might travel to different coasts or even different seas. Each time you slip into new waters, the hush rises to greet you, unveiling new ecosystems where sharks and other creatures flourish in delicate interplay. Whether you see the famed whale sharks in tropical waters, massive yet placid as they filter plankton near the surface, or graceful blues near cooler currents, you find that your hush attunes you to their rhythms. The process repeats. You approach with respect, let the hush guide your breath, and discover that fear dissolves into reverence once more. Over time, your collection of encounters grows, forming a tapestry of memories in which sharks star not as villains, but as wise stewards of aquatic life. But even if you never set foot in salt water again, the hush remains a constant resource. In daily tasks, maybe your job, your household responsibilities, or your creative pursuits, you recall how a shark glides, unhurried yet efficient, scanning its surroundings with calm clarity. When challenges arise, you let the hush shape your response, avoiding panic decisions. You harness the balanced approach you saw in the reef, letting small, deliberate actions resolve problems. Perhaps you share with family and friends the insights you gained, gently explaining how sharks are more complex and less menacing than popular myths would suggest. In so doing, you help expand the hush into collective understanding, giving sharks a more rightful place in human imagination. On a deeper level, you also realize that the hush taught you about vulnerability and trust. You exposed yourself to waters patrolled by apex predators and found acceptance, not harm. The hush bridged that gulf of fear, letting you see that hostility is not the ocean's default. Each time you remember this, you become more capable of forging trust in your relationships and your environment, acknowledging that caution can coexist with empathy, and that the unknown often harbors wonders rather than guaranteed peril. So you continue through life with the hush as your undercurrent. Perhaps months or years pass, and one day you're standing on a different shoreline, the hush swirling gently around your heart. Maybe you are teaching a child or a friend to snorkel or dive for the first time, telling them softly about your first night with the reef sharks, how you discovered a silence more profound than any confusion. You watch as they lower themselves into the water, eyes widening with a mix of excitement and timidity. You reassure them that with calm breathing and a willingness to learn, they too can find the hush. And if a shark appears, you encourage them to observe rather than panic, to trust that in this watery realm, cohabitation is not only possible but natural. The hush passes on, a living legacy of each shared encounter. Whenever you lay your head down, be it in a city apartment or a small coastal hut, closing your eyes conjures the hush instantly. In the stillness, you recall a dorsal fin sliding through beams of moonlight, the gentle rasp of coral polyps in the current, the swirl of fish parted by a silent predator on its nightly round. That hush, you realize, extends beyond the ocean itself, permeating the tapestry of your being. It shapes your sleep, your dreams, your wakefulness, and your voice. It informs how you approach every fleeting moment of stress or challenge, reminding you that the hush endures wherever mindful presence is welcomed. And so you drift through life, a keeper of hush, a friend to the sharks you once misunderstood or feared. Their image is no longer a symbol of nightmares, but an emblem of grace and equilibrium. Just as they navigate the seas, you navigate your hours, guided by calm deliberation. The hush gently stirs your heart when you see sensational headlines or fearful portrayals of sharks, prompting you to share your own truth, that these creatures hold no malice in the hush, only a role etched into ocean currents older than human memory. In speaking up, you become part of the wave that reshapes how we treat these vital guardians. You sense that every shift in perception helps the ocean remain healthy and vibrant. Eventually, you may return to those same waters or discover new ones, places where hammerheads school in the thousands or nurse sharks cluster near shallow mangroves. Each new journey reaffirms what you already carry. The hush is constant, awaiting you under each surface, found in each long, measured exhalation. Yet no matter how many times you immerse yourself, the hush never grows dull or predictable. Each descent into the ocean renews the hush's enchantment, reminding you that the sea's depths are an eternal wellspring of awe. In that awe, you find humility, letting your human concerns melt away for a time, replaced by direct communion with life's simplest truths. When the day or evening draws to a close, you once again allow your body to recline, perhaps on a boat deck or in a simple bed. You close your eyes. The hush sweeps around your senses in a gentle tide, and you realize you're still breathing in perfect sync with the shark's intangible presence. You drift into sleep. Dreams might unfold, bright reefs, swirling fish, the glimmer of a dorsal fin slicing a moonlit path. You dream that you swim alongside them, no barrier of fear or misunderstanding, just the hush that unites your rhythms. Night passes in a swirl of restful images, each one affirming that fear-based illusions have no permanent hold on a heart that's learned the hush. And then morning comes again as mornings do, and you greet it with a heart unburdened. The hush merges seamlessly with daylight, shaping how you greet people, how you approach your tasks, how you hold yourself when challenges appear. You trust in the hush to guide your responses gently, measuring each step the way a shark measures the next flick of its tail. Over time, it becomes second nature. The hush is no longer merely a memory of an oceanic journey but a living skill, a chosen perspective that flavors your entire life with steadiness. You move with assurance. Days, weeks, months, or years pass. People around you may comment on your composure, on how rarely you seem rattled by disruptions. Some might ask how you remain so steady, so anchored. You smile, remembering that hush. You might share the tale of how you once dove at night among reef sharks, how your breath aligned with the hush of the reef, dissolving fear in the presence of apex predators. If they show skepticism or remain unconvinced, you neither argue nor push. The hush is patient. Perhaps a seed is planted in their mind, nudging them to explore or reflect. Or perhaps you say nothing, simply offering the hush in your demeanor, a quiet demonstration that fear can be transcended by closeness, by respect, and by willingness to observe. Eventually, you realize your story with the sharks is unending. Even if you never physically return to those reefs, they accompany you in thought, in the hush that pervades your quiet moments. Sometimes, especially after a stressful day, you lie down and deliberately recall the gentle swirl of water around your limbs, the first silhouette of a reef shark slipping into view, the slight tension that gave way to awe. You let the hush cradle you once more, each breath a memory of calm. Your pulse slows, your mind settles. Sleep, or simply deep relaxation, welcomes you again. You reaffirm that the hush is no transient vacation. It's a part of you that can emerge in any environment. And so, across all your tomorrows, you carry the hush, that soft resonance you first fully recognized when a shark approached under a moonlit reef. It thrives in each inhalation, guiding your mind away from panic or hurry. You might be standing in a busy city, hearing horns and sirens. You close your eyes for a split second, recalling the silhouette of a hammerhead, the hush of the water, the measured arc of a dorsal fin. Immediately, tension melts from your limbs. You open your eyes, calm restored, and proceed with your day. In such small, powerful moments, you weave the hush into the fabric of modern life, bridging two worlds that often seem at odds. This synergy is your gift, an enduring connection to an oceanic realm that taught you fear is best eased by understanding, that calm is best found in quiet observation, and that hush resides within every conscious breath you take. You awaken to a pale sky edging toward dawn. A thin veil of clouds rests on the horizon, bathed in a soft bluish glow that hints at the sun's imminent arrival. The hush, that quiet resonance you've carried from the reef, seems to greet you before you even open your eyes fully. Each breath feels poised, charged with an expectancy for what the day might bring. Stretching slowly, you realize that a subtle shift has taken place within you. It's as though the hush has deepened overnight, integrating more firmly into your body and mind. The memory of sharks gliding through moonlit water has become part of your muscle memory, an undercurrent of composure that calms your pulse even now. If you're still traveling by boat, you step onto the deck and find the ocean gently lapping against the hull, the tide a little lower or higher than the night before. The breeze is mild, stirring only the tips of the small waves. If you're on shore, you exit your lodging, be it a small cabin, a tent, or a coastal hut, and notice the same hush reflected in the early morning quiet. A few seabirds might call in the distance, the only voices that dare break the stillness. You take a moment to sip something warm, tea or coffee perhaps, and feel the mild acidity or sweetness on your tongue. Even this small ritual feels more profound because of the hush that frames it, every motion steeped in calm. Today, you intend to explore further than before, perhaps traveling to a new reef system or an offshore shelf rumored to host different shark species. You prepare without hurry, gathering any equipment with smooth, deliberate gestures. Maybe you check your mask, ensuring it sits comfortably on your face. Or you check the regulator of a scuba set, confirming that everything is in order. Throughout these small tasks, the hush remains a gentle companion, reminding you not to rush. The boat, if that's your mode of transport, sets off with a mild hum, gliding over water that catches the dawn's first rays, turning them into shards of pinkish gold. If instead you wade out or paddle from shore, you feel the hush and the swirl of water around your knees, the sunlight glinting on droplets that roll off your arms. During the journey to your next dive site, you let your mind drift through the images of past immersions. The nurse sharks dozing like guardian statues on the sandy floor, the reef sharks looping calmly along coral ridges, the surprising shapes of blacktips or hammerheads weaving in the deeper channels. You recall how each time you encountered them, a hush deepened in your thoughts, silencing any reflexive fear. Now, a subtle excitement coexists with that hush. You wonder if you'll see bigger species or rarer sharks, perhaps oceanic blues, threshers with their long tails, or even the elusive whale shark, the gentle giant of the seas. Yet you hold that excitement softly, untainted by the frantic energy that so often accompanies anticipation. Eventually you arrive. The spot might be a remote corner of reef, an underwater plateau, or an open stretch of ocean where currents converge, bringing nutrients that attract fish, and thus sharks. The water shows slight variations in color, maybe a deeper blue or a subtle turquoise swirl near the surface. You slip overboard, submerging to find a new kind of hush waiting. The sunlight angles down, forming luminous paths that pulse with suspended particles. It's a different scene from your previous dives, yet the hush ties it all together, binding day, night, reef, open water, you, and the sharks into one tapestry. At first, you explore with slow fin kicks, scanning the terrain. There may be a coral ridge rising like a submerged mountain, or perhaps an expanse of flat sand dotted with scattered rock formations. Fish gather in changing constellations, shimmering clouds that shift direction with collective precision. Amid these swirling fish, you catch glimpses of movement that could be sharks, sleeker or bulkier forms shaped by evolution to patrol these waters. Your heart quickens, but the hush quickly steadies you. You recall how it feels to watch them, to sense their watchful intelligence, their calm acceptance of your presence if you approach with respect. Then, something larger comes into view at the edge of your vision. A broad, slow-moving silhouette that dwarfs most other fish around it. You inhale, bubbles drifting from your exhale. Yes, it's massive, with a wide head and a tapered body flecked with pale spots. A whale shark. Joy floods you, tempered by the hush, forming a reverent or rather than a frantic excitement. Whale sharks, the largest fish in the ocean, filter feeders that pose no threat yet command immense respect. This particular one might measure several meters, maybe longer, its spotted back dappled by shifting sunlight. It moves with gentle undulations, mouth open to sweep up plankton in the water. You approach slowly, mindful that whale sharks deserve space. Others might be diving nearby, equally enthralled. You all remain quiet as though in a cathedral. The hush resonates around this colossal being. Despite its size, the whale shark's demeanor is peaceful. You can see small fish, remeras and cleaner wrasses, clinging to its underside, taking advantage of the slipstream or nibbling away parasites. Occasionally, the whale shark's tail, tall and strong, sweeps in a wide arc, propelling it gracefully. You hover at a respectful distance, feeling your breath hitch with wonder. The hush intensifies, every bubble you exhale sounding delicate, almost fragile, against the presence of this giant. As you spend time with the whale shark, the hush teaches you something new about scale. You realize that sharks, from the tiny pups in shallow nurseries to this enormous filter feeder, form a lineage that spans extremes of size and habitat. Each belongs to a cosmic story that has been unfolding for millions of years. The hush is their shared language, a rhythm that invites you to leave your assumptions behind. Here is a being that could overshadow you 100 times, yet it moves with the same gentleness as a drifting cloud, taking only what it needs from the sea's abundance. You find yourself smiling or perhaps releasing a small laugh that dissolves into bubbles. After a while, the whale shark drifts off, continuing its calm feeding route. You remain suspended, your mind brimming with the hush that arises from witnessing such grandeur. If you turn back toward the reef or plateau, you might spot other sharks that appear small by comparison. Reef sharks darting after fish, or a solitary hammerhead deeper down, occasionally twisting its head side to side. The hush you feel for them now includes the perspective gained from your whale shark encounter. Sharks, big or small, occupy a realm of balanced motion, never taking more than needed, never displaying power as brutality but as an inherent grace. Time again vanishes into the hush. Your limbs float in mild currents, your eyes track patterns of fish that break apart, reform, sparkle, and vanish. At some point, you notice the color of the water changing slightly or the sunlight's angle shifting, signaling that the day is passing. You ascend with measured fin movements, scanning around just in case of final surprise, like a passing school of eagle rays or a curious silky shark graces your path. Breaking the surface, you feel the warm air fill your lungs. The hush remains inside you even though your ears now hear the boat engine or the gentle calls of your fellow travelers. If you climb back aboard, you might find the day's heat has peaked, the sun now blazing overhead. You rest in a patch of shade, letting the hush anchor you. Every droplet from your wetsuit or skin glitters in the bright light. Sitting down, you close your eyes, the hush merging with the mild hum of the boat's engine or the soft rustle of gear being stowed. You recall the whale shark's immense presence, so gentle despite its vast size, and the smaller sharks weaving gracefully in the reef's tapestry. In these reflections, any barrier between different shark species seems superficial. Each radiates a unique brand of calm authority that the hush reveals to you. As midday slides into afternoon, you might repeat these immersions or simply remain on deck, soaking in the hush from the surface. Your perspective is forever altered. The hush transforms the ocean from a place of potential fear to a boundless realm of insight, a teacher that uses sharks and other marine life as guides. Should you find yourself conversing with someone new, you speak quietly of your experiences, describing the hush more than the adrenaline rush. You mention how the shark's eyes held no malice, how their movements conveyed purpose without frenzy, how a single breath in that hush can dissolve misguided terror. Late afternoon might bring a shift in your plans, perhaps heading back to a harbor or traveling along the coastline to explore another region. The hush remains a silent passenger in your thoughts. Even if the boat navigates choppier water or the wind picks up, you hold that hush in your breath. If you are traveling by land, you might watch the coastline roll by from a simple bench seat in an open-air vehicle, or walk along a forested trail that runs parallel to the beach. The hush helps you notice small details, the color variations in the vegetation, the patterns of shadows on the ground, the calls of birds that you might have overlooked in a busier mindset. Eventually, you find yourself in a new anchorage or a quiet seaside nook where you'll spend the night. The hush makes routine tasks, like unloading gear or setting up a simple campsite, feel almost ceremonial, each action a mindful step. If you decide to dine, you do so with a sense of gratitude that extends beyond the meal. You recall how sharks feed with precision in a realm that demands neither gluttony nor waste, and you mirror that balanced approach in your own intake. A moderate meal tastes richer when seasoned with the hush that has recalibrated your senses. Perhaps a few folks gather for subdued conversation, or maybe you relish a solitary meal under a canopy of stars. Either way, the hush underscores that you are part of a web connecting land, sea, and sky. Night unfolds again. The hush deepens, a gentle weight in the cool air. If you happen to be near water, you might hear the waves softly break along a sandy shore or a pebbled edge. If you're further inland but still near the coast, you might sense the air shift with each faint gust, carrying the distant echo of the ocean. In that hush, you consider how your understanding of sharks has evolved. You used to regard them with caution at best, fear at worst. Now you see them as living harmonies of form and function, apex guardians that keep the ocean's chorus balanced. Lying down to rest, you close your eyes. The hush blossoms in your mind, unrolling images of whale sharks filtering plankton, small reef sharks weaving through corals, hammerheads scanning for hidden morsels, and the calm watchfulness of nurse sharks at rest. Every muscle in your body relaxes under these recollections. If the night is clear, you might glimpse stars overhead, each shining point a reflection of the shimmering fish you saw below. You let your breathing slow to match the hush, inhaling acceptance, exhaling any leftover tension. Sleep comes in mild waves, each wave washing away a layer of mental noise. Dreams might carry you back into the ocean, or to entirely new dreamscapes colored by the hush's tranquility. You occasionally stir, half aware that you're in a safe place, your experiences with sharks a kind of protective amulet against night's unknowns. The hush ensures you never wake startled. Any random noise simply merges into the calm tapestry your mind has woven. You drift deeper, lulled by the knowledge that fear surrenders to understanding, that hush dissolves worry, that sharks embody an ancient wisdom we are just beginning to appreciate. When you rise with the dawn once more, you feel that hush softly pulsing in your heart. Each morning now seems to greet you as a friend, not a summons to hurry or scramble. You might stand at the water's edge, if you've decided to remain near the sea for another day, and watch the sunrise paint gold onto the waves, as though an artist's brush is stroking glittering flecks across the ocean. The hush inside you aligns with that quiet transformation. The sea itself stands as a living mirror, reflecting your own capacity for change and renewal. If you choose to slip back into the water for a final morning swim, you do so as naturally as breathing, your body leaning into the hush that once felt so alien. On the other hand, if your time in this coastal haven must end, you pack up your things carefully, each motion subdued by a gentle acceptance. Even departure becomes a part of the hush, an echo of how sharks roam effortlessly, never truly bound to a single patch of reef. Whether you board a plane, hop into a vehicle, or sail to another shore, you find that you carry an invisible tide pool of hush within you. Its waters run deep, shimmering with the memory of dorsal fins and luminous fish, ready to calm you whenever life's currents become too turbulent. In your return to everyday environments, maybe a city, a town, or an inland community, people might remark that you seem quieter or more centered. You might smile, recalling the hush of the reef, but not necessarily elaborating. Some you might invite into the hush by telling them about the nurse sharks dozing at midday, the silent glides of hammerheads, the unexpectedly gentle meeting with a whale shark's enormous form. You describe these encounters not with sensationalism but with reverence, showing how your fear melted away when confronted with the truth of their existence. If you share these stories, you notice that some listeners become curious, their eyes lighting up at the possibility of such calm. Others might remain skeptical or uninterested. It no longer bothers you. The hush has taught you that forcing insight seldom yields harmony. Instead, you carry on, offering a living example of what it means to integrate the hush into normal routines. You handle conflicts at work with measured responses, you approach daily chores with a sense of gentle rhythm, and you treat rushed acquaintances with empathy rather than impatience. In small ways, the hush seeps into your environment like fresh water mixing with the sea. With time, that memory evolves into a personal wellspring of peace. You might revisit it on restless nights, conjuring the hush to guide you back to restful sleep. Sometimes you might set aside a few minutes during a stressful afternoon, closing your eyes to imagine a reef at dusk, the faint silhouettes of reef sharks weaving in the half-light. Just as your mind's eye recalls them, your body exhales tension. You realize that hush, once found in coral caverns, is as infinite as your willingness to remember it. Later, you might decide to plan another journey to different waters. Perhaps a place known for its clear visibility or for housing a different array of shark species, such as the gentle bamboo sharks in certain parts of Asia or the schooling scalloped hammerheads in the Galapagos. You anticipate these future travels not with restless eagerness, but with serene acceptance. Whenever it happens, it happens. Meanwhile, the hush thrives in your daily breath, your daily gait, your daily voice. On quiet evenings at home, you might watch the sunset from a window or a balcony, letting its colors remind you of how the ocean's surface changed hues through each hour of the day. In those moments, you recall how everything, light, color, species of fish, moods of sharks, flowed together under the hush, never truly separate. You might see parallels in your own life, different roles, tasks, relationships, all shifting in dynamic interplay, yet all can be touched by hush if you remain open. A small domestic chore, like washing dishes or tidying a room, gains a new glow when approached with the hush that once informed how you hovered near a dozing shark or a swirl of reef fish. Each action becomes purposeful, unhurried, and strangely fulfilling. Eventually, the hush weaves itself into your identity so thoroughly that you no longer think of it as separate from who you are. It becomes as natural as your heartbeat. Sharks, in turn, become not just marine curiosities but living symbols of that hush, guides who taught you how to navigate fear, how to abide in calm, how to trust that coexisting with formidable forces can be done with grace. You see in them a reflection of the strength you hold, a quiet mastery that does not need to roar to be heard. When the complexities of life swirl too fast, unexpected misfortunes, anxious deadlines, sudden misunderstandings, your mind drifts back to an image of a shark's slow-turning circle. You recall how they pivot with minimal wasted effort, scanning each angle before proceeding. Imitating that measured turn, you calmly assess your next move. You exhale tension in the hush, trusting that clarity reveals itself to patient eyes. This perspective might draw puzzled looks from those who prefer haste and noise, but you meet them with a calm that emanates from the hush, eroding their frustration. Years might pass, but your memory of that first night dive or that first bright morning with sharks remains vivid. You can still picture the lantern-lit surface, the ghostly coral shapes in the gloom, the reef shark's silhouette emerging from shadows, or that giant spotted flank of a whale shark in sunlit water. The hush you discovered then has grown more nuanced, layered by subsequent experiences. You have likely encountered many types of sharks by now, each with a distinct personality and environment. Yet in all of them, you found the hush, an unspoken unity bridging fear and understanding. Sometimes you dream at night of drifting in oceans beyond Earth, in cosmic waters where starlight illuminates alien reefs and sharks, magnified to cosmic proportions, move among nebulas. Even there, the hush persists, symbolizing how universal calm can be, transcending the boundaries of a single planet or species. You awaken from such dreams with a gentle wonder, a testament to how deeply the hush has taken root in your subconscious, forging connections between the vast unknowns of space and the watery realm of Earth's apex fish. Through it all, you realize your original fear of sharks, if you even recall it, has dissolved, replaced by reverence. You see them not as nightmares but as paragons of balance, keepers of an oceanic hush that predates humanity. Your empathy for them has grown. You may even read about conservation efforts or volunteer in small ways to support ocean health. You understand that the hush you cherish cannot thrive in a world where sharks are vanishing, so you do what you can, raising awareness, donating time or resources, or sharing your personal testimony that these creatures deserve respect, not eradication. In the simplest daily rituals, cooking, cleaning, even commuting, you sense the hush. Sometimes a fleeting memory of a reef shark gliding through a coral corridor prompts you to slow your pace, to replace impatience with acceptance. Or a recollection of a resting nurse shark encourages you to embrace stillness rather than constant motion. In this way, the hush becomes your teacher, not limited to watery realms. Each day you deepen your practice of living within that hush, discovering new layers of grace in the most mundane tasks. When you find yourself in moments of solitude, perhaps late at night with a quiet house, your mind may wander to the hush once more. You might close your eyes, inhaling slowly, picturing the subtlest movement of a shark's gills, the silent interplay of scales and water, the faint flick of a tail guiding it through labyrinthine coral passages. A sense of serenity seeps in, and even if your day was fraught with difficulties, a measure of calm reasserts itself. You drift off to sleep, unburdened, trusting that hush is always near. In the fullness of time, the hush shapes your memories of this chapter in your life as a cohesive, gentle narrative. You remember how you arrived at a dock in twilight, boarded a boat, sank into unknown waters, and encountered sharks that forever redefined your concept of grace. You recall morning after morning of luminous reefs, nights of moonlit dives, afternoons dappled by sun where hammerheads and reef sharks performed their silent choreography. Perhaps you traveled onward, meeting whale sharks in one region, seeing mako or blues in another, or glimpsing elusive sleepers in colder waters. Each encounter added a brushstroke to a grand painting of Hush and life's unassuming grandeur. Ultimately, you realize that Hush is not about silence alone but about mindful presence in every breath. Sharks exemplify it perfectly. Apex predators that need not thrash or rage to embody power, guardians of ecological harmony that remain watchful but seldom frantic. You see parallels in your own challenges. You too can handle adversity by exhaling aggression and inhaling measured action. The Hush is your shared language. It's the language of acceptance, observation, respect, and calm strength. Decades from now, should you find yourself reminiscing about these days, you will likely smile softly. The Hush you found among sharks will not have diminished with time. Instead, it will have matured into a steady glow that colors your later years. The ocean might remain physically far if you settle elsewhere, but the Hush is never far from your breath. Memories of sharks, sleek, massive, curious, shy, will swirl in your recollections, each one a living story that taught you how to live more gently, how to fear less, how to be fully present. Whenever you close your eyes and call upon that Hush, you feel the sea's mild sway, sea corals drifting in soft current, and sense dorsal fins gliding in and out of half-life. The Hush soothes any ache, mental or physical, and reaffirms that your place in the world is as integral as any shark's place in the ocean. Whether you move among crowds or sit quietly at home, the Hush is a state of alignment with life's deeper rhythms, a perpetual echo of those first moments you overcame fear to discover the unspoken grace of sharks. Thus the Hush remains, enduring in your breath until your final days, a gift from the silent, watchful sharks who welcomed you into their watery realm. You find peace in this knowledge, allowing it to guide you gracefully through the arcs and tides of existence, confident that Hush belongs to anyone patient enough to pause, to breathe, to witness. Even after you slip into the final Hush that embraces all living beings, the ocean continues, sharks continue, and the Hush lives on, ready to reveal itself to another soul brave enough to listen.